How does a country that doesn't officially exist move billions across borders? Somaliland, a self-declared state, is stable and has a functioning government, yet remains unrecognized globally. In most countries, a central bank manages the flow of money, connecting directly to the world's financial system. Somaliland's reality is different. Its financial survival depends on resilience, adaptation, and informal networks. Without global recognition, Somaliland's central bank can't access international payment systems or hold foreign reserves directly. Instead, it relies on creative workarounds by commercial banks, remittance companies, and international partners. This is more than a banking story. It's about a nation's struggle for economic survival and legitimacy. So, can Somaliland's central bank access global transactions? The answer lies in the grey area between formal exclusion and practical adaptation. The global financial system is an exclusive club. Membership requires sovereign statehood, usually signaled by a UN seat. Without this, a country is locked out of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, the pillars of global finance. These institutions provide access to resources, technical expertise, and international cooperation. SWIFT, the backbone of international payments, also requires a recognized country code, which Somaliland lacks. Without it, direct communication with the global banking system is impossible. The Bank for International Settlements, the central bank for central banks, is also off-limits. In short, political recognition is the passport to global finance. Somaliland, lacking this, must find other ways to connect. Within Somaliland, the central bank acts as a true national institution, issuing currency, regulating banks, and managing monetary policy. It anchors the domestic economy, providing stability and oversight. But its reach stops at the border. It can't open accounts with major central banks or participate in global policy discussions. Forced into isolation, the bank has focused on strengthening domestic regulation, especially for mobile money and anti-money laundering. By building a robust local system, Somaliland hopes to prove its reliability and eventually earn a place in the global economy. The main barrier is simple. Somaliland isn't recognized as a sovereign state. Without UN recognition, it can't join the IMF, World Bank, or get its own country code for SWIFT. All international transactions must be routed through banks in recognized countries, masking Somaliland's involvement. Global banks avoid direct relationships with entities from ambiguous jurisdictions, fearing legal and political risks. Somaliland's central bank can't hold foreign reserves abroad, issue sovereign bonds, or receive development loans directly. Every cross-border transaction depends on intermediaries. This adds cost, complexity, and risk. The wall of sovereignty keeps Somaliland's central bank on the outside looking in. Cut off from direct access, Somaliland relies on a web of private and international actors to connect to the world. Domestic commercial banks use correspondent accounts in Djibouti, Kenya, or the UAE to process international payments. Remittance companies like Adaptation move diaspora funds through their global networks, bypassing the central bank entirely. International aid is channeled through UN agencies or NGOs, not government accounts. These workarounds keep money flowing, but always through intermediaries. The system is ingenious, but fragile, dependent on the goodwill and compliance of foreign partners. Somaliland's financial lifeline is a patchwork, not a direct pipeline. Let's follow the money in Somaliland. For remittances, a nurse in London sends money home via a money transfer operator. The funds travel through the operator's international accounts, then are paid out locally, often as mobile money, without touching the central bank. For aid, donors send funds to UN agencies, which manage the money and pay local contractors or salaries, bypassing Somaliland's government. For trade, a local importer deposits funds at a Somaliland bank, which uses its correspondent account in Djibouti to send payment via SWIFT to a supplier abroad. In each case, the transaction is indirect, routed through recognized countries or organizations. The system works, but adds fees, complexity, and dependency on intermediaries. Somaliland's economy runs on these parallel tracks. The central bank is sidelined, while private actors and NGOs keep the wheels turning. This model is efficient but fragile. It's a testament to adaptation under constraint. Despite formal exclusion, Somaliland's institutions have found a lifeline in the World Bank's pragmatic engagement. The World Bank doesn't recognize Somaliland politically, but it supports capacity building and technical assistance. This includes training central bank staff, improving regulation, and aligning with international standards. These efforts help Somaliland's banks maintain correspondent relationships and reassure foreign partners. The World Bank's involvement boosts Somaliland's credibility and resilience, even without official recognition. It's a quiet endorsement that strengthens Somaliland's case for eventual integration. Somaliland's financial autonomy challenges Somalia's claim to sovereignty and creates regional ripples. Every international transaction that bypasses Mogadishu reinforces Somaliland's de facto independence. Neighboring countries like Ethiopia and Djibouti benefit as economic gateways, while global powers balance engagement with political caution. The World Bank's support is a form of statecraft, building Somaliland's capacity without formal recognition. Somaliland argues that functional legitimacy, governing, providing security, managing an economy, should matter as much as diplomatic status. Its financial system, though indirect, has endured for decades. As Somaliland builds institutions, it strengthens its case for statehood. Finance is both a tool and a battleground in its quest for recognition. Can Somaliland's central bank access global transactions? Not directly, and not as a sovereign institution. The global system is built on recognition, and Somaliland is formally excluded. But in practice, its economy has engineered indirect access through private banks, remittance companies, and aid agencies. Money flows in and out, but always via intermediaries. This system is resilient, but vulnerable, dependent on foreign partners and global regulatory trends. The World Bank's quiet support is crucial for keeping these channels open. Somaliland's central bank is a domestic authority, not a global player. Its story is one of pragmatism, thriving in the grey zone between exclusion and adaptation. As Somaliland looks ahead, the question remains: will this delicate system of functional access endure, or will the world demand a new approach? The pressures of global finance are always evolving. Regulations tighten, technologies change, and international politics shift. Somaliland's leaders and entrepreneurs must constantly adapt, innovating new ways to keep money flowing and livelihoods secure. But beyond adaptation, there's a deeper hope that someday recognition may follow functionality, that a history of resilience and resourcefulness could open the door to formal acceptance in the global community. Until then, Somaliland's story is a lesson in perseverance, a reminder that, even in the margins, people find ways to connect, trade, and thrive. The future is uncertain, but the spirit of adaptation lives on. Somaliland's journey isn't just a story about one territory navigating the shadows of global finance. It's a blueprint for resilience in a world where recognition is often out of reach, but participation is still possible. From grassroots entrepreneurs to innovative policymakers, Somaliland shows that isolation is not the end. It's a challenge to be met with creativity and determination. For other unrecognized or marginalized regions, these lessons resonate deeply. The path to economic survival may not always run through the corridors of formal power, but through networks of trust, adaptability, and relentless optimism. As the world watches, Somaliland's experiment offers a question to us all. How do we build systems that include, empower, and adapt, even when the rules aren't written in our favor? In the end, the story of Somaliland reminds us that the boundaries drawn on maps do not define the limits of hope, ingenuity, or ambition. For those living in the world's grey areas, every transaction, every innovation, every connection is an act of quiet defiance and a promise that one day the margins may move closer to the center. As Somaliland's story echoes beyond its borders, its impact is felt far from the Horn of Africa. The lessons learned in Hargeisa and Berbera ripple outward, challenging how we think about borders, legitimacy, and economic inclusion. Global institutions, policymakers, and everyday citizens are confronted with a key insight. Resilience can thrive even in the absence of formal recognition, and innovation often flourishes on the periphery. In a rapidly changing world, where new crises, new disconnections, and new forms of exclusion are emerging, Somaliland's experience becomes more than a case study. It's a call to reimagine what's possible when communities refuse to be defined by their limitations. Financial systems, digital networks, and human connections are being rebuilt, not just in Somaliland, but wherever people are left out by circumstance or design. Perhaps the greatest lesson is this: inclusion isn't a favor bestowed from above, but a process built from the ground up. Somaliland's journey illuminates a universal truth. When the official doors are closed, people will find windows, tunnels, and bridges to build their own futures. And in doing so, they remind the world that the true strength of any society lies in its ability to adapt, persist, and hope. As we close this chapter, the question remains: what can we all learn from those who thrive in the margins? And how might their quiet revolutions shape the world we share? As the story of Somaliland draws to a close, we are left not just with answers, but with a challenge. What if the ingenuity and determination seen in unrecognized states could be harnessed on a global scale? Imagine a world where economic inclusion is not dictated solely by politics or geography, but by the creativity and collaboration of its people. From the bustling markets of Hargeisa to tech startups in remote corners of the globe, the spirit of adaptation knows no borders. Communities everywhere are building their own networks, digital, financial, and social, turning isolation into innovation. They prove that when official systems fall short, alternatives can, and will, emerge. This is more than a story about Somaliland. It's about rethinking the rules, questioning the status quo, and daring to envision new pathways where none seem to exist. The future may not always look like the past, and that's precisely where opportunity lies. So as we look ahead, let's carry forward the lessons from Somaliland: resilience in the face of adversity, the power of grassroots solutions, and the belief that every society, recognized or not, has the capacity to shape its own destiny. The journey doesn't end here. In every unrecognized corner and within each of us, the potential for transformation awaits. Thank you for joining us on this exploration. Until next time, keep asking, what else is possible when we refuse to be defined by our limits?